Well, I started instructing about 40 years ago, so I'm going to be 56 years old shortly. So, and I've worked with thousands of kids. And I'll speak of my own experiences. I wasn't a bad skater, but my stick was too long. I couldn't pass the puck. I couldn't shoot the puck. It wasn't my stick skills didn't marry my skating skills. I mean, there was a huge difference. So I knew that, and again, not at the it wasn't the coaches that coached me at the time. It wasn't their fault, but they probably didn't know how to teach that kind of stuff at that time. So I was, and again, for lack of a better word, I was a victim of that. I could skate, but I had no hands. So I got into teaching hockey for beginner programs and hockey schools and what have you, and so having no hands, no stick skills, kind of resonated with me, and I wanted to see, okay, like what is it I was missing? And then kids were asking me, and so I did some more research, an awful lot of research actually on stick handling skills and what have you, and watched an awful lot of DVDs and read an awful lot of books, and then experimented a lot of times. So I came up with some programs for stick handling. And then the kids that I were working with, especially when I got involved with coaching girls, they were asking me so many questions about everything. And so then I had to do more research. And that's how I got to be where I am today. It's just the kids, basically, it was their wants. And I tried to fit their wants about, okay, so you want to skate faster. Well, what does that mean? Like, how do you define skating fast? It's not just straight line. I know that now. Well, I want to shoot harder. Well, we'll just shoot more pucks. Well, I completely understand that your hockey stick, the length and the flex and the mechanics of your body are extremely important in shooting and passing, and then handling the puck. And so now I've moved forward where over the last 6 years we've put a program together that complements the skating skills and the stick skills directly related to the one-on-one battles. And even though we talk about skating, stick handling, one-on-one battles, it's actually the way the whole program unfolded was I looked at the one-on-one battles and defined all the skate edges and all the stick skills you needed in the one-on-one battles, and then I added that to the skating patterns and to the stick patterns. But it was the demand of the kids that pushed me. There's no plan to building a skilled hockey player. I mean, we say we celebrate skill development, but I've dealt with thousands of kids, and I still deal with kids that are playing high-level hockey, and they come to me and say, well, I want to get faster. And then basically the common drill is, well, do more stops and starts. It's not about what patterns in the stops or starts that you're going to be using, and analyzing if the body's moving correctly, and then providing a correction process to support the child. So when it comes to, I mean, we all want fast hockey players that have hands, but at the end of the day, there is no plan that's supported by a correction process to build speed and hands. So we believe if we just place the players properly, they just know where to be, then we're going to win the hockey game. But God forbid if you have like 10 Crosbys on the team you're going to play against, because it doesn't matter where you tell your players where to be, if they're not equal to them, to the 10 Crosbys, you're going to lose the game unless you have an amazing goaltender. That's just the way it is. I mean, and they're not going to have any real system. They're going to use speed and puck movement, that's team speed. Team speed kills. And that's what they're going to do at the end of the day. And then everybody's going to say, well, how do we make those players? How do we get to be like those guys or those girls? And everybody goes, they shrug their shoulders. Well, we're going to go back and we're going to build a system. We're going to tell you where to be. Forget about the speed. Hockey's not about skating speed. It's not about puck movement. It's not about hands. It's not about any of that. We're just going to tell them where to be. But even kids at Novice and Adam, they get Crosby, they get Ovechkin, they get the Gretzkys and the Mary Lemieux and the Bobby Orrs of the world. They get that. They want to be that. But today's hockey says, no. Those people were born that way. God, the hockey gods gave it to them. We're going to work on systems because that's what wins the hockey games. Ironically, when they get to be in the NHL, they only look for players that have speed and have hands. But God forbid that we work on that in minor hockey because we don't have time. Even though we know systems don't work because speed and hands kill systems, we're still going to work on systems. But that's because there's no plan for skill development. Well, I think minor hockey is doing a great job given the information that we have, but I think we need to move forward on defining what a skilled hockey player is and the science, not somebody's philosophy or what they think. The science, the body science. We talk about vision and brain and neurological systems and muscles and bones and how they all react to move the skates. Like, we need to talk about that, and how do we build speed? Exactly what defines speed? What defines hands? What defines one-on-one battles? And once you do that, then we're going to see the unimportance of systems and drills. Now, drills that incorporate skills will be important, but you're not going to go to the rink and spend most of your time on systems, because you're going to realize that if the other team has 5 or 6 skilled hockey players that can skate and handle the puck and you have 0, you're probably going to lose the game. But if you don't have the plan for that, then you're probably going to go back to systems. But if you're given a plan, you're going to say, well, I need to build at least another 6, 7 skilled hockey players like they have. And then that way I can maybe compete with them. And you'll understand that hockey's not a complicated game. Blue line in, you have 11 players. You have the goalie, 5 defensive players, 5 offensive players. When the puck moves into the corner, all the players cut the ice in half. It shifts over. So you've got half of one zone. 11 players. Where's it so complicated where to be? It's not. The game of hockey is about speed and puck movement, winning one-on-one battles. It's about edges in one-on-one battles. It's about being strong on the puck. It's about using your body to maybe protect. It's all those skills. It's not about systems. It's about just how you're going to move your skates and how you're going to move your hands and how you're going to react to it. There's only so much space given that little half ice in one zone to move. And then when the players move through the neutral zone, one team has 2 defensemen. They're going on an offensive maybe movement. The other 2 defensemen are backing up. Both goalies are in the net. There's 6 players. You got 6 players remaining. Where are they going to go? They're not all going to huddle together on the boards or what have you. They're probably going to spread out. And they're going to look for open lanes. It's not complicated. And then when you move the puck in the other zone, it's going to be the same thing. 2 players on 2 defensemen on the blue line. 1 defenseman in front of the net. 1 defenseman in the corner. The goalie's going to be between the pipes. And if you use a 2-1-2 system, which is somewhat prominent, you're going to have 2 players on the puck. And both teams are going to have 2 players on the puck. Well, what are the remaining players going to do? There's not many, and there's not a whole lot of place to go. It's not like you're going to go sit in the stands or something, or you're going to go down and chat with your goalie at the other end. Everybody's going to be contained in a small area. So it's all about how you see the play and you see how everything unfolding, and then you command your body to move. And the movement is initiated with the skate blade. And then after that, hopefully you've trained, with hands, if you get a chance to handle the puck or move the puck or what have you. But that's the game is hockey. We overcomplicate it, way overcomplicate. It's about speed. I've been around long enough that the worst player I want to play with is somebody that has skating speed, because I'm probably going to grab a hold of him. I'm going to trip him. I'm going to do something. And then if I meet a player that can come down on me and do double head fakes and single head fakes and all these fancy moves that these Crosbys and Ovechkins and the great Gretzkys and Lemieux and all them used to execute and still do execute some of them today, then I'm confused. It's like, holy, what are they going to do now? Yeah. But they have those qualities. We don't say, we don't pick Crosby or Gretzky when he was doing it. We didn't say, okay, we're going to bring him into a room and find out, okay, what systems do you know? That's the guy we're going to pick. Yeah, we're going to pick that guy there because he knows all the systems. Forget the Gretzkys, forget the Crosbys, forget about those. We know they're fast, they got hands. We need players that know systems, because that's the magic of the game. Is systems, is knowing where to be. But we know that's not true when we get into game situations. And I'm not saying systems aren't important. Of course they're important. They have a role in the game, and you're going to maybe use, could be a 2-1-2 or a 1-3-1 alignment, or you're going to you're going to try to position your players to kind of maybe at certain times of the game and all that. But still, at the end of the day, it's still speed and hands that control the game of hockey. And sometimes you can maybe nullify for a few seconds. But if you have a team full of Crosbys, you can only hold them back so long, and you might have some success with your systems and player alignment. But overall, they're going to dominate the game. They're so overrated that I'm tired. At my age, I'm almost 56. I've coached boys AAA, girls AA, and I've worked with so many coaches, and I hear coaches say I don't have enough time to work on skills. And I know of a minor Adam team here in North Bay. The players, they know where to go right from the face-off. They know how to line up with the face-off. You throw the puck in the corner. They're all going to move exactly like they should at Pee Wee AAA, Batum AAA, Midget AAA, OH. They're all going to move basically within a 10-foot range of where everybody should be, given the puck moves into the corner. The question is, who wins the battle in the corner? Who gets there first? Who's able to be strong enough to move the puck maybe around the board? So now your alignment of, let's say, 2-1-2, you've moved the puck around the boards. It all depends who gets there first again, who can hold their own. So the alignments work until you get into one-on-one battles. And face-offs are one-on-one battles. Who wins the face-off changes everything right from the face-off. You get into the corners, who wins the battles in the corners, that changes all the your systems. And it's the same at middle ice one-on-one battles, the same with the battles on the boards. People that have great speed and they go along the boards, they're probably going to win that battle, given a player that's slower and that maybe doesn't have the same skills. And so if you win these one-on-one battles, you change the whole game, and that's where the focus has to go. Well, if you just focus on systems, but you agree that you don't know where the other team players are going to be, you don't know where the puck's going to go, and you don't even know where the players playing on the ice don't even know where their line mates are going to go, then so much for systems. So I would rather focus on skills, focus on skating speed, define that, and with support the players on a correction process after you've had some type of analysis, and then focus on the hands, and then give them some systems. Whether it's on offense or defense. If you have on offense in your zone, there's 6 different types of breakouts. I agree. I teach them that. But once they learn that, the play dictates whether you come around the net and go up the middle seam, whether you go D to D or where you go from D to wing. It doesn't take kids, novice, Adam, Pee Wee, Batum, Midget, OHL, or whatever, junior hockey, American League, NHL to figure that out. These alignments are consistent. They've already been studied. They're not complicated. If you're moving through different, you're moving in the other team's zone and using a 2-1-2 or whatever alignment you're using, a 1-3-1-1. You can teach that in a classroom and then bring it on the ice and go over it quickly. But you can't spend the majority of your ice time on systems and on robotic drills that have nothing to do with skills when we all agree the game is unpredictable, we don't know where the puck's going to be, and that everybody is looking for skilled hockey players. Because it just doesn't make sense that we would, say it's unpredictable and we all celebrate skilled hockey players. That's what drives us to the rink, our skilled hockey players. But we're going to spend all our time on systems because that's where the magic is. The proof's in the pudding. It's not in the systems. But then again, it's not coach's fault. It is what it is right now, but we need to have some dialogue. We need to start talking about the science and skill development. We need to define it. We need to move forward on that because it's what everybody wants. From player to coaches to the NHL. Everybody wants skilled hockey players. Because again, there's no definition for skill development. So, and again, we've got to be fair to coaches here. That's probably, if I didn't know, I'd be working on systems too, because that's where I think that's where the magic is. And that's what parents believe. Parents, they're at the rink are often telling coaches, well, I know we're losing, but if we just worked on more systems. They're not saying, well, we got to build skilled hockey players because parents don't even know. There's no information for them. So I think it's basically, it is what it is because there's been no solution. And I think if I didn't know what I know and work with kids as long as I did, I'd be doing the very, very same thing. And I did do the same thing in some cases, but then I changed when I started coaching girls AA hockey because the demands were so high to skate faster and handle the puck and shoot. And so then it led me to do more research and kind of grow the program to where it is today, because that's what they wanted. And so I thought, well, I've got to give it to them, but I couldn't go get it anywhere. So we keep talking about skill development, but it's ironic that coaches that come to me, they don't have a plan for skill development. And then the other issue is that a lot of coaches can't demonstrate the skills. So there's several problems here. There's different layers. One is there is no specific plan. Secondly, there's some coaches that can't execute. So if they can't execute, we know they're more than likely going to continue with drills that are not skill specific, and they're going to work on systems. And that's why I'm a big believer in a mentorship program of some form to give these kids what they want. Because all kids dream of being Crosby. That's why hockey is that's why it's so Canadian. It's the fastest sport in the world. The demands are high. I mean, you're playing on hybrid knives, and it's multi-directional. And then you have 5, then we give you some stick, some form of a hockey, they call it a hockey stick, and then we put a little rubber thing at the end that you're supposed to control that everybody wants. So when you have the puck, you have 5 other players that want it from you. And they're going to hit you and take that puck if they can. So it's a crazy sport, but it's not about systems. It's all about speed and hands. Start with a defined program and then try to enhance it regarding skating, stick handling, passing, and shooting, and how it relates to the game, namely one-on-one battles, because one-on-one battles change systems. Speed and winning one-on-one battles, it destroys any system. And again, not to be redundant, but that's why teams are looking for skilled hockey players, because they dominate the game. So define and articulate all that, provide some type of analysis of whether you're working on, for example, in skating, if you're working on linear speed, forward or backwards, if you're working on 360s, if you're working on C-cuts, if you're working on pivots or laterals or stops or starts, that there's a plan and it's all defined so coaches could go to the rink and we'd see players on the ice from little to old, and they'd be working on their craft. They'd be working on the art of skating. They'd be working on their edges and understanding that on those hybrid knives they call skate blades, that there's a toe, and the toe part of the skate blade executes different parts of skating, and there's the center of the blade, and that's for different aspects or skills of skating, and the heel is for different aspects. And we would educate the kids and we'd educate the parents that if we're going to build great skaters, and then when we build great skaters, then those kids can operate in automatic mode. So says science. If you own a neurological pattern, then we call it muscle memory. And when you have muscle memory, you're able to keep your head up and use your vision because you own your skating. And then we go one step further. Kids are on the ice and they're working on their hands. And it's hands, that's another craft that's important to the game of hockey, because you've got to be able to skate and handle the puck around the body, not just in front, out to the sides and behind at times. So now you want to work on that craft. So you're working on the art of skating, they're working on the art of craft, or the stick handling craft. And so now we put the two together, and again we build more neurological paths, and we it's called muscle memory. And then now these kids can afford, when they're handling the puck, to keep their head up, because the focus doesn't become on the puck or the stick or the skates. It becomes on where am I going to go on the ice, and then they get to use the skate and the sticks the way it should be used. And then we train all that in one-on-one battles. The way the game is, I mean, we constantly hear on TV at the pro level, this team's winning the one, so-and-so's winning the one-on-one battles. Well, what are the one-on-one battles? Let's define them and start with a starting point, and then if it grows, it grows. And then we'd see that on the ice. We'd see that in the practice. And if we saw a drill that didn't make sense, that had nothing to do with speed, or if the focus was on systems, we'd go, hey, my son, my daughter, they want to be a skilled hockey player. By the way, you know what? When they become skilled, they have a better chance of playing the game safer. Why? Because, so says science, you can keep your head up. If you can keep your head up, because you're in operating automatic mode, you can use your vision. Well, plus you can maybe avoid unnecessary collisions. There's another aspect of safety. But so we talk about equipment, we talk about measuring all this, whether it be concussions or injuries. I get all that, but it's the training. We need to go to the rink and work with the coaches or an association and understand that the program is made for each individual player. And so owns, he's very, very strong in certain C cuts, but he's worked on stops and starts. And the other player is maybe strong on pivots, but they're weak on lateral movement. So we're building all this in there, and we're moving them along based on how the game is played, and directly related to building skilled hockey players, which is what the kids want. It's what the NHL celebrates. And that's what we want at the end of the day. So look, why don't we get on that path? And we'll realize systems are not as important as they are, and the focus needs to move. Because once you understand how important skating and stick handling is, it takes an awful long time to build a skilled hockey player. It'll be the reverse. You're going to say, I don't have time to do systems. But the only thing I'm going to say is that's great, because hockey's not complicated. I mean, stamped it in the world. There's certain positions are consistent. Offense, defensive defenseman, goalies in the net. A lot of it is already, it's a fait accompli. It's already stamped. It's just the way it's going to be. So hockey's not complicated. But maybe one day we'll say the reverse. We'll say, you know what, we don't have time to work on systems. Yeah, we'll have to do some maybe off-ice classroom stuff. And yeah, maybe we'll only spend 10 minutes on whatever system. And because you're spending so much time on trying to develop a skilled hockey player. Well, I mean, most of these kids have, great parents or a great parent or great guardians, and they need a plan. They need a plan specific to skating and stick handling, and that's most parents. That's what I say. You're going to champion the development of your children or your child. You need a plan to move forward. You want to ensure that your child enjoys the complete advantages or the complete exhilaration of skating fast and handling the puck. And in order to do that, you have to have a plan. So I would say, first to the parents, because the parents are the most important part of a child's development. And that's just the way it is. I mean, I've heard some coaches say, well, I made that hockey player, or I made that. No, they didn't. The parents have to drive, and they've got to pay, they've got to make sure they put them in the right programs, they've got to support the child if they're not getting played, or drive them to the rink when they don't want to maybe be driven, they're having a bad day. So it's all about parents. And at the end of the day, the reason why I know this is that all the great players, they all thank their parents. They've never thanked their instructors or their hockey coaches. They might do that as an afterthought, but initially they thank their parents all the time. So how huge are parents? They're huge. And one way to get parents to completely subside their aggressiveness at the rinks and that is to tell them the game is not about systems. The game is not about drills. It's about skills. And we're going to go to the rink, and there's going to be failure. And your child's going to fail at some things. But the good thing is we're going to make them skate fast, and we're going to give them great hands, and we're going to train them so they have success in one-on-one battles, and they're going to play the game safer. It becomes that hockey is the fastest, most skill-demanding sport in the world, and we've got to work on the craft. We've got to work on the art of stick handling and skating, and so then parents, I think, will have a better appreciation, and then the kids will have a better appreciation too. So the sooner we get on this path of building skilled hockey players, I think the happier everybody's going to be, and we'll reduce the exit of hockey players at Bantam age. And that's what I've seen over my decades of working with hockey players that play house league and A hockey, and there's nothing wrong with playing that. And it's not just them. There's AA and AAA. They get to Bantam age. They can't take a slap shot, can't do a snap shot, can't do a head fake, can't do a fake shot into a spin. They can't do a variety of skills. So they've invested all this time since Tyke, and the training hasn't been specific for them enough to make them better through an analysis and correction program that has, that's derived from having a plan for that child. So they quit hockey. But if you have an investment and you're a skilled hockey player, the chances of you quitting hockey at Bantam are heavily reduced. Heavily reduced. I think here in Canada, hockey is great, but can we make it better? Definitely. Is it going to take a lot of good people? Yeah, I think it's going to take an awful lot of good people. I'm going to do my share with my program, and I'm hoping hopefully the MMSP will be maybe a seed as to what's going to come in the future. But I think if we move into a science training field, just as other sports like golf, where they completely analyze the golf swing, and whether it's on different planes, and how you hit the ball, and the science behind the irons and the ball and surface, and you get into all that. That's what we need to talk about. We need to stop talking about systems. We need to stop talking about, well, they didn't follow the plan tonight. If you have two equal skilled hockey teams, yeah, it's going to make somewhat of a difference. But overall, skill still dominates the game. We need to start talking about, if there's one team, if Team USA is faster than Canada, we need to define, why are they faster? How are they faster? How can we be just as fast? So we need to start talking about, how do we make fast hockey players so they can play the game safer, especially when they're handling the puck. We need to have that conversation. We don't need to be talking about, how do we measure a concussion, or we got to build better equipment. That can't be the primary conversation. That's a secondary conversation. The primary conversation is, what is it we can do today to change all that? How can we minimize body injuries and head concussions and all that stuff? And maybe we can't. Maybe we're doing the best we can. My opinion is that we need to change the training, and it has to move into somewhat of an automatic mode of playing the game of hockey, which means you have to be able to do your skating skills and your stick skills, especially when you have the puck. And that allows you, automatic mode allows you to use your vision. Your vision allows you to assess the ice, whether it be your teammates or other players and what have you. And until we play in automatic mode, players will get caught with their head down. And I'm not saying that some players are still not going to get injured, have head injuries and that, because hockey's a fast game. But I know we can diminish quite a bit if we train players, to move in an automatic mode and make those choices and decisions, seeing everything. And I think it begs the question, well, can we do that? I say we can, and I know we can, because I've trained players to do that.